right, so does anybody have any questions on the high leg or the full Granby that we looked at on Tuesday? So in case we forget, guys, all of the modules or things that we learn in the 101 class, we have a concept for each one, okay? And they're all over on our board over there. For guard retention, our main concept is that we're going to look to create a frame in between us and our opponent and then reset our hip angle or get our hips and our knees facing them. Most guard retention movements are going to utilize this. What we're going to look at tonight is something called the half Granby. And the half Granby can give white belts and newer people a little bit of trouble because the way that we do it efficiently via frames is a little bit tricky. A lot of times people just get away with a sloppy half Granby, but the problem with that again is that if you're just relying on your speed and flexibility of doing the Granby, then you're not going to be able to do it against a really skilled opponent. So let's go ahead and look at some context real quick. So let's say I'm going against a coach here. So he's going to pass my guard, and as he's passing, he's going to be turning my hips into this direction over here. Now, he's not necessarily doing a leg drag. We could think of this almost like a leg toss where he's throwing my legs to one side. A half Granby in its most simple form is just going to look like this. He throws my legs, and I basically throw my hips back at him. But if you just drill it like that, when somebody actually comes down on top of you, you're not going to be able to stay in that position. Here's what I mean. So he throws my legs. As I start to bounce back up, he's just going to drop his body weight on me, boom, and pass my guard all the same, okay? Because what is this person trying to do? They're trying to throw your legs with the intention of coming down and passing your guard. So if all I look to do is simply throw my legs back at him, here they come. Go ahead, coach. Yep. Okay, one more time. So watch. He's just going to crash down on top of me. Go ahead, coach. Crash down, crash down. All right, failed. Because all I was thinking was, let me just do this and just throw my legs at him. So what I need to do is I need to understand again that we're going to use our spine as the primary frame for the half Granby. This is something also known as a turn away Granby because my hips are getting turned away from me. So again, he's throwing the legs by. As he does, I'm going to first create a frame in between the two of us. Now, one thing that we always preach, guys, is that we never want to reach for our opponent's hips when my opponent is passing my guard. And the reason for that is because if he suddenly drops his weight on top of my wrist and my elbow collapses and come on over here, coach. So he comes down on his knees, boom, and he starts to drive his body weight down into my wrist here, I'm going to break my wrist really easily, okay? The reason for that is because once my elbow touches the mat, now the only thing that's supporting his body weight is this weak lever right here, and his weight on that wrist, you're going to blow your wrist out, okay? Additionally, though, by framing on his hip, I'm not actually blocking the thing that he's going to use to cement his guard pass. We call that the leading edge. The leading edge most commonly is going to be the shoulder. That's the thing that he's actually going to make contact with me with. There you go. That's the thing he's actually going to make contact with and support my body weight and keep me flattened on the mat. So when I'm doing this half Granby, I'm going to start off by framing on the shoulder. So he throws the legs, he starts to come down, and I'm preemptively getting that hand framing up here. Notice how I'm actually moving and rolling my body in the direction that he threw. I'm not going to necessarily try to fight him. So as he threw my legs, I'm in this position here. Now, here comes the tricky part. What I'm going to look to do is I'm going to look to put my butt up in his face. That's going to be my primary frame. Now, how do I do that? The bottom leg is going to start to lift my hips up as I take a step with my rear leg. So now, if we kind of freeze and stop in this position, if coach were to try to crash down on top of me right now, my hips are acting as a frame to prevent him from flattening me out. Because my hips are high like this, he's not going to be able to just glue me to the mat. Now, to finish, all I need to do is, like we talked about, throw my thigh back at him. And I put him back in my guard. So again, I want to really hit this home, guys. You can get away with this, right? I'm going to just kind of like throw my legs at him. You can get away with that, okay? But if I'm going against someone who knows how to pass the guard, which again, when we're learning jiu-jitsu, we're always learning with the context of we're going to fight someone who really is good at jiu-jitsu, right? I'm not just going to fight some rando off the street. This person knows what they're doing. So when they throw those legs, we start off by creating a frame, okay? Not for the intention of trying to push them off of me or actually throw them away. It's just to create a little bit of space. I take a step with my top foot, and I rotate my shoulders to the mat so I can come up on this left knee. I'll show this in a different angle in a moment. So again, I'm taking a step, and I build up onto my hip. Now, once I'm in this position, my butt should be right up in their face, all right? And he can even start to drive and crash down on top of me. I should be pretty comfortable here. Now, once I'm ready, I just throw this leg back over, and I put him back in guard. So you can do this whole thing quickly, right? He throws the legs by, I frame, and I throw my legs back at him. But if I'm not getting into the habit of lifting the hip, then you're missing the entire point of this half Granby. Create a frame first, and then reset your hip angle. That's our concept for guard retention, right, guys? We create a frame between us and our opponent, then we reset the hip angle. So if we do this from a different perspective here, so he throws my legs to one side, I'm turning in the same direction. I'm creating a frame, looking to block his shoulders. I always want to try to keep an eye on him, right? So it doesn't make sense for me to look this way. If my body's going that way, I'm not going to look away from him. So I'm always going to keep the corner of my eye on him here. I take a step with the top foot, my hips come up, and now I'm just going to throw my legs at him. My thigh is the main thing that's going to be looking to get him. I'm not going to try to kick him or anything like that. I'm just trying to throw my legs at him here. And look, we end up right here, maybe like a De La Riva or, you know, just a hook sweep type of position, and I'm immediately on the offense. Okay? So we'll do it from this angle now. So slow motion, he throws the legs by, I frame, I'm turning, I'm keeping my eye on him. I'm not looking over here, there's nothing of interest over there. This is the dude that's trying to beat me up, right? So my eyes are on him. I'm creating this frame. Notice how I'm tucking this elbow in, guys. I want this elbow close to my ribs, okay? And the reason for that is because as I go to build up onto my knee here, if my elbow's open and this guy's a savvy back taker, they could slide their bottom hook in and start taking my back now. So what I need is I need this elbow close to my ribs here so that as he comes down on top of me, when I come up, I'm blocking that potential hook. All right? Again, my butt is going up. I throw my thigh at him, and I just roll right back into my guard. I'll demonstrate once more without talking. Try to get into the habit, like we talked about, of referencing the ankles at the end, right? As soon as I'm done, I should be holding an ankle. If you guys have been with us for the all levels class this month, I can go right to De La Riva, I can go right to single leg X, or I can go to whatever position you feel comfortable in. Would anyone like to see it again? All right, let's get it going, guys. Ready? 1, 2. So, anyone have any questions so far? I'm going to touch on a couple things here, and then we'll put you all back out there. So, first, the most common thing that I had to go through and mention to people was while you were picking the hips up, you weren't getting up on your bottom knee. So if I do this solo, your legs got thrown, you picked your hips up fine, like now my butt's up in the air, but look, my knee is not actually touching the floor. So if Coach Steph pushes my hips down, he's going to pass my guard. Look at the difference though. Now if I just take this bottom knee and then reinforce my hip, push my hips down, Coach, done. Okay, this is the difference between this guy tossing the legs and then smashing your hips and passing because you were lazy and didn't want to put your knee underneath, and the difference between him not being able to do that because now you have a solid hip frame because your knee is supporting your hip and you're creating a triangle effect with your spine as a frame. So it's my knee to my hip to my spine, okay? Now again, I throw the thigh at him and I put him back in guard. So again, like I said, you can get away with doing this fast. And the way that you do that is by kind of cheating a little bit and just throwing your legs back at him. But now you see where the problem lies. If this guy's a good guard passer and he expects the half Granby, as you're throwing your hips and you're not reinforcing that frame, he just smashes the guard. And there you go, you've been passed. So again, what does that mean? We have to get this knee underneath us, okay? Jiu-jitsu is nothing but a fight of frames and levers. So he's trying to turn my frames into levers here, so I need to create frames in between us so that way I can throw my legs back at him, and now I have the most powerful part of my body, my leg press, in contact with him. Okay, we talk about this all the time. As beginners, you need to utilize the most powerful thing in your arsenal, and that is your leg press. That's why the guard is such an important position, especially if you're a smaller person. It's unlikely that I'm going to be able to put this person on their back and get on top of them and all that sort of fun stuff. What's more likely is that I'm going to have to use my legs to control this person, right, and move them and use my leg press to get them off of me. Now, some of you may have noticed, for those of you who are a little more savvy, you can immediately start to attack submissions off this. So I can immediately start to look for the triangle as I land here, boom, and then I have my submissions ready to go. So if you want to play around with that, if you know what I'm talking about, go for it. The last thing I want to mention, this is kind of a tangent, but it's also guard retention, and it's also reinforcing frames. I want to share you guys like a little cheat code that I use all the time with my guard retention that a lot of people just don't think about. And it's this. When people pass your guard, they're trying to turn your legs, right? Turn your hips, turn your legs. That's what they're trying to do. An easy way to stop people from doing that, that doesn't require anything on your end, is when I'm playing a recumbent guard, to simply put my hand on my own knee and that elbow on the mat. So now as Coach Seth goes to try to turn my legs, this frame is reinforcing my leg. Watch, as soon as I take that arm off, there goes my legs. Okay? So a lot of times if I'm playing guard against someone and I'm letting them play passing, I'll just kind of hold my thighs like this. And it makes it very easy to just defend my guard because I'm just reinforcing my knees. Again, the whole point of guard passing is to look to turn and rotate hips and knees away to change that hip angle to his advantage. So if I just casually keep my hands here, you'll see anytime like somebody is demonstrating a guard pass and I'm helping them demonstrate it, every time I lay on my back, I immediately go here. Guard up, heels pointing at him, hands on my thighs. Right? And this is my natural position. My hands, if he grabs my pants, look at this. My hands, close enough to grab him. Okay? But in addition, my elbows reinforcing my thighs. So this can be a good sort of cheat code for you guys to utilize. So once more, he throws the legs by. Boom. I get up on that knee, keeping my frame up at him. Okay? This hand is just, this is buying me time, right? This is not necessarily going to stop him. Okay? My hip and my knee is going to stop him. I throw the Granby, and I'm immediately looking to get to some kind of guard. And we're done. All right, guys, any questions? A couple more rounds. For this, though, we're going to do 1-minute rounds. So that means 1 minute, one person on top. They're just constantly throwing those legs by. Boom, boom. Bottom person, constantly half Granby, half Granby, half Granby. Okay? Ready, 1, 2.